Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here on the Nerd Party Network, where me and Dallas King make our way through the A24 filmography and TV output and bring you interviews along the way with the talent involved in front of and behind the camera. In this episode, I'm joined by Diandra Lyle. Known for her many roles in TV and film, from Disney's Secrets of Sulphur Springs to shows like Beauty and the Baller and Shameless, Diandra dives into her appearance in Moonbase 8 with me today, a very topical episode called Quarantine, where she plays NASA astronaut Alisha Patterson. In Quarantine, Cap and Skip each have vastly different quarantine experiences while sick, and Rook is left alone with Diandra's character Alisha, a new member of the team, and he must decide what to do about his feelings for her. Thanks so much to Diandra for joining me for this episode and being such a fantastic guest. I hope you too enjoy the interview.
Can a guy at least get a goodnight kiss before he goes to sleep?
Look here, I've been dealing with this my entire life. I know exactly who I am. I'm smart, I'm beautiful, and I don't give a damn about you, your penis, or anything you got to say with your pasty, white, chalky, Bible-thumping nitwit ass. You don't look at me, you don't talk to me, you don't breathe the same air as me. Are we clear?
Yes.
Great. You have a good night.
How did you get interested in sort of acting and performing?
So I kind of have a funny story. It's very non-traditional in how I got into acting. I didn't start until the age of 30. I was a recreational therapist at a psych hospital in my former life. So, and before that, I worked with at-risk youth and children in the system and things of that nature. And I loved it. And I got laid off in 2008. And that's when I made the decision to pursue acting. And the way acting, I guess, sparked for me was I did take one class my last semester of college because I had hours to kill. So I just said, oh, okay, I'll take this acting class. And the teacher told me a couple of times, he said, you have it, you need to be doing this. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I graduate and I move and I, start life, and I had my daughter and I was doing all these things. But it was always sitting in the back of my mind, so when I did get laid off from my job, that's when I said, you know what, when one door closes, another one opens. So let's see what this is about, because it's still sitting there in the back of my mind. And I tried it, so thankful to my job that laid me off, that gave me the opportunity to take the plunge into acting. And it's what I've been doing ever since.
I suppose, like I in my day-to-day life, I work in mental health and have done for quite a few years. And I suppose it's always one of those ones, like, especially when you've got that kind of person-centered approach, you're always putting on a different performance, you're a different style, the voice changes depending on who you're meeting 1 hour to the next. I suppose I never kind of thought about it. You're always putting on that bit of a performance. And I think that's why so many of us in that field can feel so drained at the end of the week, because you're putting on so many masks and performing to so many different people.
Yeah, I mean, you get it. I mean, being a mental health, worker, and that's exactly what I worked in. I joke with people and I say I had a lot of great character study. I worked, in mental health. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's just, I think you always have to think on the go when you're working in mental health. You never know what the next moment's going to bring. And you're dealing with all different types of people and situations. You have to be empathetic. You have to be a good listener. You have to respond accordingly. So all those things really do play into acting as well. I mean, when I worked in psych and mental health, I wasn't being an actor per se, because it was genuine. I genuinely cared about my clients and my patients, and I enjoyed them. I had fun, and I feel like people that work in that field really, truly do have a gift to be able to work with those people, because they're people just like anybody else, that could be any one of us at any time in that situation. And, it's just the human condition. So yeah, I think working in that population really does lend itself to acting, and really being able to bring that human condition, to the role, to the story, and making them real. So that's, you get it. You get it.
What were some of those was there any performers, actors, movies that were sort of inspired you when you were sort of looking to maybe make that leap into the acting field?
You know what? I can't say there's anything in particular, because I'm weird. I don't have like a favorite movie. I have like my top, movies that I like. And same with, actors. I think I enjoy when a story, when an actor, an artist is just being real, and it's just they're just being, what do they say? Acting's great, just don't get caught doing it, and I I coach people sometimes, actors, and I'm like, look, if you believe it, I'm gonna believe it when I watch it. If it's real to you, it's gonna be real to me. So anybody that has been able to do those types of things in a show, in a performance, that's what's gonna motivate me. That's what gets me go, yes, that's what I like, that's what I want to see. You know what I mean? Relatable people. I want to see real people on the TV screen. They don't have to be a little stick figure, and they don't have to. I have a bunch of white gray hairs now, and I'm like, you know what? I want to see that because that's relatable for me. So kind of, I guess, not to answer your question, I don't have a specific performance, I don't have a specific actor, but anyone that just brings that realness to me, that inspires me, that, and when it moves me, that gets me going.
What was your sort of like process like from turning, like you've graduated, and how do you then turn it into a new career as an actor? What was that kind of journey like after?
Oh, it's tricky. I mean, because at the time, I had no experience. I was 30 years old. I was a single parent. I had my daughter, who was probably, 2008. She was like maybe 5 at the time, 5 or 6. And I'm in a city with no family. And, this business is very demanding. You have to be able to go like that. They go, hey, if an audition, we need it now, or we need to see you now, or you book this, so you have to go, so it's really tricky. So, I mean, for me, starting out, going in, knowing that it wasn't going to be an easy journey. It's a very risky journey because not a lot of people really truly, see a lot of success in their careers because it's hard. I think understanding that, I didn't have rose-colored glasses, so I knew I was going to have to put in the work. I knew that a lot of it had to do with chance, as well. But I just tried to, I studied, I had some great mentors in my corner from the beginning, and I tried to listen to what they told me from their experience. I tried to learn what I could when I could and make the most of every opportunity that I got, because, truth be told, I'm not a, traditionally trained actor. So coming in, I think early in my career, there might have been a little trepidation subconsciously because, I don't have a BFA or an MFA. I didn't go to school for performing arts. I don't have a lot of theater background. I didn't train a lot in the methods, so when you get around actors and they're like, yeah, I did this and I did this and and everybody's talking and I'm like, I don't know all that, but I believe that everybody's gift is different. I still do believe that I'm worthy of being here because I do still put in the work, but my journey just might be a little different than the next person's. It doesn't make me any less than, but it's, if you want to do it, like with anything in life, you really have to just buckle down and do what you can when you can and hope for the best.
For those who, like myself, whose first introduction to you was Moonbase 8, what would you kind of recommend people seek out from your range of work? I mean, you've been in a range of shows and work from Disney to kind of recurring in guest spots and probably a lot of people's kind of favorite shows. What would you kind of recommend people to check out if they were looking for a full of your work?
Oh, yeah, that depends on what they like. I've really been fortunate to do, like you said, a range of work. As an actor, I want to do different characters. I don't want to look the same in anything I do. I don't want to necessarily sound the same. I want to be able to do drama and comedy. And now I'm a Disney mom, and it's, for me, that just keeps it fun, and it's like, oh, what can I do here? There's this. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been fortunate, I've done the Shameless and NCIS, and I've done, what else have I done? I've done some soap operas, some daytime drama, like Young and the Restless, and Moonbase 8, which was big time comedy stuff, which was so much fun. Man, I don't know. I did American Woman. I was recurring on American Woman. That was on Paramount Network a couple years ago. And that was fun because it was based in 1975. So I got to play Louise, and in 1975 she had a lot, she had soul, and had the afro, and it was fun to just really kind of channel that. And the 70s were so much fun with fashion and music and all that. So that was something I was really, really proud of. That was a fun job, a fun role. I got to play alongside Alicia Silverstone and Mina Suvari and several other really great, talented people. My Disney show now is fun. I get to be mom. So that's fun. Yeah, I don't, it's hard. It depends on what you like. Yeah, those are a few, I guess. I can't think of, there's other stuff on the resume.
When did you first hear about the opportunity for Moonbase 8?
See, I want to say we shot that in 2018. The interesting story about that is when that audition came through, it was a self-tape. So I did my tape, actually with my manager, and we had no idea who was involved in this project. It was an indie project. It didn't really say much, and I did the audition. I had a callback, and I went in person for the callback, and I'm pretty sure Tim Heidecker was there, but I wasn't familiar with who Tim was. Mm-hmm. So, he said, hey, you pretty much have the role, but we just wanted to meet you and just play and see what happens. I was like, oh, okay, so we played and did all that. But it wasn't until, I actually booked it that I found out that, Fred Armisen and John C. Reilly were also involved in it, along with Tim Heidecker and then Jonathan Kreisel, who directed it and was co-creator. I had no idea. So it was such an amazing surprise because those are like comedic greats. That was a highlight for my career because I'm like, oh my goodness, Fred, John, Tim, like this is big, and it was an honor to be able to do that. But it was a surprise, not knowing anything about the project, and then it being that, and then it coming out 2 years later because we didn't know where it was going to go, and all of a sudden it's on Showtime. It was wonderful.
What did you sort of make of the role of sort of Alisha Patterson, this NASA astronaut scientist? What did you sort of think about her from the script, and what kind of little information you had at the start?
She's a strong character. I tend to play those types of characters, attorneys, detectives, now strong astronauts in training, but she's strong, no nonsense. She's going in there with all men and she's holding her own. Which is always, as a woman, that's always an honor to play those types of roles, because I'm very confident in who I am as a person when I walk in this world. So it is nice to present that, on that stage for the world to see, especially in something so sophisticated when it comes to astronauts and space training, because we need to see those diverse faces. So it was, she was strong. She's kind of badass. And, if you saw the show, she might have kicked some ass too. So she was a lot of fun.
Moonbase 8, I think, is it seems like quite a heavily improvised show. Was that an exciting prospect for you, or potentially a terrifying one?
You know what? I can say that there could have been a lot more intimidation than what there ended up being for me, because, once again, I'm working with these comedic greats. So for me, it's like, luckily, my character was more the straight character, the serious character. I didn't have to do too much. I just kind of followed their lead and let them be the funny, and just play with them and follow them. I trained at Second City, Chicago, many, many years ago. I didn't go on to the conservatory prop, but I did spend a year training. And, that definitely helped me in this role. But I just wanted to, I just watched, I listened. If they gave me a little note, the director's like, okay, here, go a little more, you can do this, you can freestyle, whatever you want to do. And I just really, did my best to keep it within the realm of my character, to not try to be the funny one, because the funny just kind of comes out of the situation. But, at first it was a little like, can I do this? I'm up here with these guys, but they were all so amazing and warm and welcoming that it was never a problem. I was never, the nerves didn't get me. So It worked out great.
How did you sort of prepare for the role? Did you draw on any sort of historical parallels or figures for it?
You know what? With this one, I actually didn't. I think, the character is pretty straightforward. I think if you just, one, you're going to follow the writing of the script. So, I can't stray too far from that. So, given the words on the page, I use that given my knowledge of this is, she's about business. She's strong. She's no nonsense. And, she's here for a job and a duty. She's not here to entertain. She's not here to make friends. And, just giving all those things, I just kind of pieced that together that way. But there was no particular person that I modeled her after. It was just kind of like, okay, this is Alisha, and I guess a lot of my own personal traits in that, there's a lot of parallels.
Did you sort of develop maybe your own backstory for the character, or is it very much, as you say, sort of what's on the script that kind of tells you?
You know what? The actor side of me should go, yes, I developed this elaborate backstory. I did all this work and we wrote it out and we know where she went to school and where she grew up and, what her favorite food is. But, honestly, with this one, I didn't do an elaborate backstory, and I think too, I was only in one episode, there were 6 episodes and she was just, episode 3. I think that I might have possibly developed it more had it been, a more broad character involved in the show. But, too, when you come in, especially as a guest star, you're there to serve the story, and you're there really to help set up the leads on the show and their storyline. You're there to support them. So at the end of the day, it wasn't all about me and my character, but she was a bigger character in that episode. So she did have to hold her own. She did have to have a presence and, be somebody of importance. But yeah, no big backstory.
What was that sort of first day like on set? What kind of time of the day does it begin? And what was it like turning up to essentially go on into Moonbase 8? Man,
honestly, it was so many years ago now. I don't remember what time of the day we went in. I shot 3 days on the project. I would think, I know the last day that I shot was a night shoot because that's when we shot, in the bubble and did all that. But the other days were on a sound stage during the day. So I probably did go in the morning. Just, I think anytime you walk onto a set, anytime you walk on as a guest, you just always want to be mindful and respectful of the space that's already created before you. And, being that I'm working with these people that have been in the business for a long time and they're also the creators of the show, I wanted to be respectful and I'm just thankful to be here. Thank you for having me and just pay attention and listen and watch, and in our downtimes when we're in between scenes and we're sitting off to the side and our chairs are sitting there, they're just having their conversations and Tim and John both had their guitars on set and they would in between, takes, they're playing the guitar, they're making up a song. A fun little story is I had a wedding to go to. I think it was my second day that I shot. And we were running kind of long and I had this wedding, across town. I was kind of hoping that I could get to this wedding. And I think I talked to them about it and they ended up making a song like about this wedding, about me having to go to this wedding. It was actually pretty funny. I wish I kind of remembered the whole song. I don't know if they ever finished it, but like the next couple of days they were just sitting there adding to it because they had the location of the wedding and, that I had to go. And it was just really fun to see how they work. They made it very comfortable, But yeah, I think that's just like I said, the biggest thing. You're a guest on the show. You come in and you just want to be able to hold your own and say, hey, I'm here to work with you and play with you and build with you. We're on, the same playing ground, but I have this respect for you too.
Did you manage to make it to the wedding?
I did make it to the wedding. I might have got there a little late, but it's okay. And it was so funny because Fred, let me tell you, Fred is like the sweetest person ever. Like Fred, like honestly, I get warm fuzzies when I think of Fred. Like every time I would be around Fred, I'm like, Fred, I love you. Like, he has that great calm energy. He's not big and loud, and you think with somebody who does comedy and does all these characters, that sometimes you think you expect them to be this larger than life being. And then you meet them and you're like, oh, you're not really like that. Like him as a person, but just so sweet and so kind. He was really concerned about me getting to the wedding. And he felt bad. He was like, I really want you to get to the wedding. I'm so sorry. I was like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm thankful to be here. This is like most important. I got to the wedding to celebrate it. It was fine. But it was nice to just have that human element to these people that we see all the time on the big stage. And we go, oh my goodness, they're these big celebrities, and they're just humans and they're sweethearts. Most of them. Those guys were sweethearts.
What was the physical set like itself, this Moonbase in the middle of a desert, essentially? What was that kind of like to play in that kind of stage?
Well, that was fun because, like I said, the first couple of days we actually were on a sound stage. So, the scenes where we were like in the kitchen, and things like that nature, that was on a sound stage. And then my last day of shooting was out kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they had this, the Moonbase actually, right? And it was at night, and it was cool to be on there. It's film and television is amazing what they can do, because you watch it and you're like, oh, this is a real place, and you're like, oh, that was all created in this little room, or whatever. Like, what? They created this. But that particular set was pretty neat because, you would walk through those halls, and they're kind of like curved, and you actually, walk through those halls, and you're like, oh, this is really interesting. And it felt like you're in a space station, it felt authentic. And, not that I have a lot of experience in space stations, but I did, back in 2011, I was in Germany. I'm almost half German, German chocolate. I tell people that all the time. But my cousin, she is an attorney for NASA here in the United States.
Amazing.
So when we were in Germany visiting family, she was able to get, it was her and I, my uncle, my aunt, clearance to go visit the German space station, or space facilities.
Oh, is that
in Bremen?
Cologne, is it?
In Bremen, yeah, or outside of Bremen, yeah. So we went there, and I had to get clearance and everything, and we went there and we got to really, be like walk in some of the actual mock satellites and types of things that they have. So it was, comparing that to Moonbase 8, there were, it was pretty good. They did a great job. So you really, you feel like, you're in space, the final frontier.
As a Star Trek fan, I appreciate that little side.
Oh, see, there you go.
Your character is, like you highlighted, it's a proper professional, has the common sense that the other three lack. What was it like to play off of that kind of energy as the straight man, essentially, to these kind of, the jokers in the pack, as it were?
Mm-hmm. It was fun. Like I said, as long as I just followed their lead, I think you can get caught up really in any kind of comedy. You can get caught up in the moment because they're funny. They're funny people, and that's what they do. And so when they're being serious, like for them, their characters are serious, it's even more funny. So luckily I didn't have too many like goofs and slip ups where I started laughing in the middle of a take, but yeah, everything, in comedy is grounded in realness. That's what makes it funny. Like, that's situational comedy, because to those characters, these things are happening. These are very real. The circumstances and the stakes are high. Oh my gosh, I dropped the sandwich on the floor. This is the end of the world. And to most people are like, oh, it's not a big deal. Make another sandwich, blow it off, whatever, you'll be fine. But to them, this is the absolute end of the world. And that's what that comedy comes around, what I'm saying, even more. So everything is amplified, everything is elevated, so when they had those moments, or if they were, riffing and, improvising, like I said, just staying on my straight and narrow, because my character was the straight character, not going too far off base of the script, but following them and playing along with them as much as I could.
There was so many moments that had me laughing. We'll obviously come to your smackdown of Rook in a moment. There's like the moments when you're trying to keep Skip back, like a lot of that great physical comedy of like, I can almost imagine that parental side of like, no, give me some space, like the dishes video. What were some of your kind of favorite kind of little moments and beats to play in?
Oh man, they were all fun. obviously like the SmackDown, the flip, and plus I got to have a stunt double, so that's always kind of fun, and she did a great job. That was fun. What's funny is one of my favorite parts for, I guess, dialogue is actually towards the end when my character's getting called up to the moon, and Skip's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "To the moon." It's kind of one of those things like, "I'm going to the moon. I'll see you there," whatever. And it's like, all right, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. That was just a fun little piece of dialogue or moment, I guess, for me that I can really remember. But they were all fun. I mean, yeah, going into the quarantine, and just having that, which is so timely right now, right? The whole episode's called Quarantine, and then we had to like wear masks and all. I'm like, really? Like maybe we were seeing the future. I don't know. Those moments are fun. The dish scene in the kitchen was fun. That was fun. It's like following the rules and doing this and doing that. I do remember that one because, like I said, it's been a few years now, so I'm kind of going back in my memory bank. But that was a good one. I can't say all of them were fun. Sitting at the table, talking about first aid and the medic and the doctor, to Fred's character. So you got this. Okay, so you can do this. You can do the, examination and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, putting them in the hot seat. Yeah. That was fun. It was fun to kind of have that in a way, that dominance, I guess.
And I suppose that dominance comes in when you finally crack. Rook is like, I could leave my wife and 12 kids. Like that could happen. And you just like put him right down on the floor, foot on the throat, and like, it is like, we are going to insert the audio into this bit of like your dialogue because it is just such a pain. Like,
when I had to go off,
white ass, pasty face, you're this, you're that. Yep. It is like, what an outburst. Like, what goes through your mind as you tap into that? You've been straight faced, you've put up with their nonsense, but in this moment, it just all comes out. What was that like to tap into?
I think everybody has, different sides to them in real life. We have our professional side and we have our, when you don't see us at work side, and I think, like I said, she's a strong character and she's a woman of color too. So it's like, look here, I'm not going to deal with this. So she's dealing with men. So, as a woman, and if you're an attractive woman, you're going to, through life have to deal with some not so much fun stuff and attention sometimes. And you want to be taken seriously. You want respect. I'm here because I do a good job. I know I'm professional. I've worked hard, and it's not about, you're not going to take advantage of me, in ways that are inappropriate, but I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to try to read too much into what you're saying. And, we can keep it cool and keep you at a distance. But if you cross that line, I'm going to let you know. Yeah. And so for, it's kind of, I have a daughter. So there's been times, I'm her teacher. I'm around her all the time. I'm the one that kind of shows her how to walk through life, and situations can arise in life where, you pick and choose your battles. And that's one thing I try to explain to her. Not everything is worth your energy. Sometimes you just have to be the bigger person. You have to just let it go. But there are moments when you have to put your foot down and let people know you're not going to be walked over. And something that I say as Diandra sometimes is like, I'm not a fighter. I don't like to argue. I don't like to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be no punk. So I will put my foot down if I need to. So that's kind of, I think, definitely what happened there. She's very, Alisha is like, here, I'm here to do a job. Okay, I'm let you guys slide. You're making these little comments, but I'm not really going to think anything of it. It's fine. Okay, we're going to do work to weird. But you step over that line, I'm going to let you know about yourself. And then it's back to the professional part. Yeah. It's like, all right, we done? We good? We good? You got it? I don't have to say this again. Okay, carry on. And that is an empowering moment, because a lot of people are scared to stand up. A lot of people are worried about their job security. They're worried about, their reputation or how people are going to perceive them, especially, I always tell people we're still in a man's world. We're in a white man's world. And that's what I tell people. That's ultimately still what it is in the general scope. Now, things are shifting and things are changing and we still have a long way to go. But as a woman walking in this world, as a woman of color walking in this world, sometimes people have to really, step gently or they feel like they have to. But at the end of the day, no, you should be able to say how you feel. You should be able to, draw the line on boundaries and stand up for yourself, rightfully so, without there being an issue or repercussions because of that, So it was great to be able to embody that, show that on a global scale, and hopefully that's empowering, for people. So.
And how much of that kind of dialogue, was that all on the script, or were you able to pepper it in with like, I think I know what she would say here, and maybe something in yourself?
That was actually all dialogue. That was all scripted. I don't think that I improvised any of that. So everything was well written, and really the majority of the show, from what I saw, was scripted. They didn't stray too much, from what was on the paper, but unless the director is like, hey, let's try this, or they have their own ideas, it was for the most part pretty, right there. We're just going to do what's written and give it life.
You obviously touched on it. You head to the moon afterwards. What do you think kind of happened to your character? And was it nice for you to go, as you kind of touched on, it's a white man's world, but you're off to the moon. Like these white guys, they're just going to stay on for another 2 years in the middle of the desert.
Right.
Come in, you're off on shuttle 11 or whatever it is. That's you off. What kind of do you think about sort of that kind of character now and that ending?
I mean, it's obviously it's great to see people in that position, a woman in that position, a woman of color in that position, reaching those higher heights. It's just like seeing when Barack Obama became president of the United States, to see it, that we then can believe it because it's possible, So even though this is this is a make-believe show, I mean, we obviously have had women of color that are astronauts that have gone, decades ago. But that reinforcement of seeing it, whether it's make-believe or not, that gives it power, that gives it life, that gives somebody watching go, you know what? I would love to go to the moon. I would love to do that. And I believe that I can. And even though I'm seeing this, let's pretend, why can't I? And I guess the way I operate in life, I'm kind of hard-headed. But, people will say, well, how can you do that? Or why can you do that? And I go, well, why can't I? Same thing with acting. For me, like I said, I started at age 30. I was a single parent in a city with no family. I'm from Iowa in the Midwest of the States. Everybody's like, Iowa, that's farmland. And I'm from the city. But I was born and raised in Iowa. And I was like, I could do that. I could go and be on TV and film. And everybody's like, really? And I'm like, no, I could. And I have, so it's the power of believing, the power of seeing. I mean, man, there's nothing like that. That's priceless, so it is important to demonstrate those types of things on the screen. The more we see it, the more it becomes commonplace, the more it's not this mythical idea, or far-fledged notion. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh no, that can't happen. And a woman can be strong with men, and she can put her foot down, and she can still have respect. It doesn't mean that she's, for lack of a better word, a bitch. It doesn't mean that she's catty or emotional. She knows her job. She knows it well, and she deserves to be there. Definitely. It's important to see that.
There was also, you mentioned it as well, like there was a sort of 2-year wait for Moonbase 8 to come to air. What was it like waiting for that, like work that you're clearly proud of to go, is that coming out yet? Like you should check out the show. Is it coming? I remembered even as a fan, I remember sort of hearing about the show and then thinking, has that come out? Have I missed it? What was it like for you in those 2 years?
It's funny, in this business, you shoot something and you honestly have no idea when it's going to come out. You don't even know. And sometimes you don't even know till it's out, and then sometimes it'll be, oh yeah, we're coming out now. And then all of a sudden it's pushed to a year later, so you don't really end up holding your breath for it. You just kind of go, okay, well, and with this particular project, because it was an independent project initially, because, Tim, Fred, John, and like to my understanding, Jonathan Kreisel, who was the director, they created this. And I think that they created it over text. Like they were like, hey, and they just kind of had this fun idea, and they were just, because it was independently made, and it wasn't connected. I don't think it was with A24, at first, and definitely not with Showtime. I didn't know what was going to happen with it, and I knew I did believe that it would be somewhere because of who was involved. I was like, well, it'll do something, because they're not going to do all this just to do it. But I had no idea when, and then life goes on, and you go on and you're doing stuff. And and the funny thing is, every now and then I would think about it, maybe do a little quick search, online to see if anything, and didn't really see anything. And then I was sitting there. I'll never forget this. I was sitting there. We have a hiking trail near my house, and I think I'd gone just needed some me time or something. And I was sitting there, and I was getting ready to go to New Orleans for the Disney show that I was doing. And this was like in, I think, August or September. I think it was September. And all of a sudden I get this little ding, this Google alert, because I have it where if my name pops up as some article, that'll alert me. So I open it up. I think I was kind of having a funky little day too. So I was like, what is this? And I look at it and I'm like, Moonbase 8, premiering on Showtime, November 8th. And I was like, what? And then my name was in the article and I was like, what? So totally unexpected. So it's kind of like another gift, So I already got the gift of booking the show, not knowing who was involved. Then I got to play with these amazing, talents. And then, a couple years later, all of a sudden, hey, it's going to be on Showtime. And it's there. And I'm like, what? So that's how I ended up finding out about it. And I just, like I said, I just kind of didn't forget about it, but you just kind of let it go and hope that it ends up popping up somewhere.
What was your reaction to the finished product? Did you dive straight into your episode, or did you go, you know what, I'm going to watch it? How did you sort of watch it for the first time, and what did you think?
I'm terrible because sometimes I have projects out and I don't even see them. I get a lot of people, friends and family from across the country that maybe get it at an earlier time than I do because I'm on the West Coast. So things in the Midwest and the East Coast air earlier. So they'll see me on something and they screenshot it or they record my scene, and then they post it on social media. So it's like I almost sometimes get to watch it without watching it because everybody's giving me the highlights. And I'm like, oh, okay, or I'll record something or try to go back and then like never get around to watching it. So it's funny how that happens. But with this particular one, I actually only watched my episode, which is good because I don't watch a lot of TV. Mm-hmm. I'm in TV and I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't really understand how that works, but that's just kind of how I am. But I did watch this episode and it was fun actually to watch it because it had been, 2.5 years since we shot it, or 2 years. And it was new to me, watching it because it was kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot that this happened. I forgot about that scene. I forgot, you know what I mean? Like, so it was like, I felt like everybody else sitting there watching it. But I definitely I plan on going back and watching the other episodes because it was hilarious. And I didn't know the tone of the show. Like, you never know. Like, you shoot it, you'll read it, you'll shoot it, and then it comes on, right? So you don't really, they always say a show or a film is made like 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and then after you edit it. So I didn't really know the vibe of the show, like how it was going to be until I watched it. And I was like, oh, I like the way they did that. That was kind of fun. That was cool, So yeah, I watched that episode. I definitely want to watch the rest of them. I need to get back. I just been busy with everything else, and to get me to sit down in front of a TV it's not always easy to do.
It's one of those shows, like, I think with the 6 episodes, like less than 30 minutes, like if you've got like a spare few hours, like you'll easily
right. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun though. Definitely enjoyed it.
Was there like a moment or scene that maybe didn't make the final cut, or was it all very much as you kind of remember?
As far as I can remember, all the scenes were there. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. From my scenes. I can't think of any that didn't make the cut.
We kind of spoke about it. The episode takes on a very different turn in 2020 than it did in 2018. Mm. What was it kind of like when you watched this episode? You're like, that seems to be an argument a lot of people are having about dishes, quarantine, all the issues, masks, people breaking rules. What was it like going, oh my God, this is kind of prophetic in a way?
I mean, like I said, that's crazy. It's so crazy because, like I said, when it aired in November, I think I watched it because I was in New Orleans until right before Thanksgiving. And I want to say right after I got back, we watched it, with my family. And yeah, I mean, the odds of all those things being what we're living through right now is really crazy, especially because we shot it in 2018. So, I don't know if Fred and John and Tim and Jonathan Kreisel are psychic, because maybe we need to go tap into their little minds a little more and say, hey, well, what's going to happen next year? What's going on? Because they obviously knew. No, but it is wild to see it. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those weird, funky things that you can't predict, but obviously they predicted, but you can relate to it even more. I mean, I can't speak for the other episodes, but for that particular episode being quarantine, I'm quite sure that it probably stuck with a lot of people, a lot of viewers, a lot stronger than maybe some of the other episodes.
Funny you say that, because like the episode is the highest rated one on IMDb.
Hey.
What do you think it is about this episode that kind of resonated with audiences? Because it might just be that all your family on the East Coast pumping it up, but what do you think it could be about this episode that people are really resonated with and thought it was the best?
I mean, I was in it. So, I mean, that's really, no, I'm just joking. No, I think that a large part would probably be the whole quarantine situation, how relatable that is to everybody. And, in tough times, you have to laugh to keep from crying. Sometimes you just have to go, man, I never thought we would be here. This is crazy. We have to wear masks all around. My kid can't go to school her senior year. And, all these and we're tired of being around each other. And it's just crazy, So sometimes you do have to kind of poke fun at that and just laugh, because there's nothing else we can do. So I think that was a big part of it. I think from my understanding of the 6 episodes, I feel like Quarantine episode 3 might have been really the only one that had a strong female character, for the most, in that whole episode. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but that is a nice variation for people to see. So yeah, I mean, I guess, and it was it was well written. It was the storyline was fun, and like I said, I can't compare it to the other ones because I haven't watched them yet. So I'll report back to you after I watch the other ones. But I think that those 2 things are probably big factors.
It's obviously been a few years now. How do you look back on those 3 days talking about it now?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I tell people all the time, it was definitely one of those career highlight moments, to work with such comedic greats. Because this journey, it's tough. And we're basically interviewing for jobs all the time. And there's jobs that we really, really want. And we're like, oh my gosh, I could have done it. And I could have been amazing. And there's jobs where we're like, okay, I got to eat and I got to work and I got to do this. And, there's not always going to be those jobs that really spark something in you or that really remain with you, after you've done it. And, like I said, for that one to be, it was an honor and a privilege to be able to play with them. To me, it was like, wow, I just feel so lucky to be there, and that they thought that I was able to hang with them and I was able to, be at that level. And they welcomed me with such warm, open arms. That definitely one of my highlights of my career, because I respect them all as artists and now as people, now that I got to meet them and work with them.
Obviously, COVID has been a huge challenge for the creative industry. How have you adapted to it and found it to be a working actor kind of during this time?
Well, I've been really, really fortunate. This business can be peaks and valleys when it comes to work. As an actor, you could have several years where you're just working nonstop and things are great. And then you can have years where there's nothing, and for me, I think 2018, 2019 were kind of my low years, where not much work happened, and which is hard. And then we go into 2020, which is this COVID year. And then I ended up working a lot. Well, I worked on one show, but it was a good part of the year that I worked. So I was really fortunate with that. And now that I have worked a full season, I shot 10 episodes of the show Secrets of Sulphur Springs. It's on Disney. And I worked half of it through COVID. Now I have that working knowledge of how the process goes, of, how things have changed. As for anybody on production, but especially as an actor. So the first part of us shooting, we shot the end of January through mid-March last year. So right before things really, popped off. And then we stopped mid-March. We shut down production because of, COVID. And then we returned the end of September through Thanksgiving to finish for 7 weeks. So, to walk through that and have to take COVID tests 3 times a week, the nasal one, I took 22 tests over 7 weeks. I was a professional tester, and then all of a sudden we were done, and I felt like I got kicked back out to the wild, like, okay, we're done, bye. And I'm like, I'm used to taking my test. But you see why the precautions are in place. You see how important they are. I mean, we were really fortunate on that production to really have one little minor bump at the very beginning, and a couple of people had to quarantine. And then after that, the rest of the time we didn't have any bumps, and we had 250 people on crew and cast, and we were on location, and we were able to make it through, fine. So it can be, I guess, a little scary, but I think we have to understand that it's here, and we just have to figure out how to work with it, and do what we can. We're always taking risks. We're taking risks every time we leave the house to go to the grocery store, or to go for a walk, or, being around people you don't know where they've been, but the, industry, I think, they're, for the most part, doing a really good job of getting an efficient, safe production process down, with COVID. And we're learning as we go, because some things work and some things don't. And then you have to go back and reconfigure it, but it's tricky, but we got to eat and the show must go on. And it's kind of like a pun, because it's like the show and the business must go on and life must go on, but being smart about it.
Absolutely. And what's kind of coming up that we should keep our eyes open for, that you've maybe kind of been working on?
Well, currently what's airing is Secrets of Sulphur Springs, and that is on the Disney Channel, on the actual Disney Channel. I think the first 5 episodes will release on Disney Plus February 26th, and then the remaining episodes will come later. But that's a new time travel mystery series. It's very different than anything Disney's done. It's a little more spooky. It's not like crazy. Some kids go, oh my gosh, I can't watch it. It's not like that bad, but it's a great show for families and kids, their children, like adults and children to watch, because I describe it as Stranger Things meets Goonies meets Back to the Future.
Old.
So it's kind of like all that, right? Like I said, time travel, mystery, a haunting. I don't know. There's all these fun things. And it was a joy to make, and it's an even more joy to watch. I was behind a couple episodes, but I did catch up. So I'm trying to keep up with that one. But it's a lot of fun, and it's doing really, really well. It's getting great reviews. I think this week is episode 7 or 8. I can't remember. There's 11 episodes total. But yeah, that's what's going on now. And then other than that, I'm just kind of auditioning and I'm writing, and I want to direct eventually, and I'm coaching, and I don't know what else is going to happen after that. We'll see what happens.
Amazing. And what's it kind of been like to have been involved in an A24 show like Moonbase? What's that like to have on your CV?
I mean, it's definitely an honor. It's definitely, anything that carries, a little weight, a little, like that's always a good thing to have, under your belt, so when people go, oh, A24, okay, let's check this out. Showtime, okay. Let's, so anything like that, I mean, it definitely, I think, is an eye catcher, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful that I was along for the ride, and they allowed me that privilege.
We ask everyone, what's some of the highlights potentially of their filmography and work that you like if you're an avid viewer?
Oh goodness. You know what? Once again, I'm gonna go back to, I'm terrible with watching films and television. And I know I've probably seen several A24 projects, and I can't sit here and name them because I'm terrible with it. So I can't give you specific. Oh, Moonbase 8. I mean,
sorry.
Hello, Moonbase 8. I think they need to come back for a season 2, and I need to figure out how to get the boys up to the moon, or at least going to come back to
just a spin-off
train
show
them or something.
That's what we need.
I mean,
John C. Reilly will be on a high wage, getting all them
right.
up. Let's get you up on there, see what you're like up on the moon.
I think you're onto something, Lee. I think that's exactly what needs to happen.
For people that want to kind of keep up to date with any of your sort of news or career or anything like that, where's the kind of best sort of social media to follow you on?
Well, I'm on the socials. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. My name is just Diandra Lyle. So at Diandra Lyle, it's the same on both of those. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on there. And I don't really do Snapchat or TikTok. I'm going to leave that right now to like my daughter and her friends. But I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with someone that's been to the moon today, and it's been a real pleasure to chat with you and hear about your experiences. And stay safe.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me. I'm really, really honored, especially over in the UK. Like that's even cooler. It's kind of like going to the moon for me because I'm over here in the States. I'm like,